Hi, everyone. I'm Jessie Monroe.
And I'm James Blackwood.
Welcome back to AIZN Breakdowns. Today, we're zeroing in on something pretty intense.
Yeah, definitely intense. We're doing a deep dive into one specific track, Fire at Will by AIZN.
It's just one song, but wow, there's a lot packed in there.
For sure. And just so you know, for this deep dive, we're sticking strictly to the source material we have.
That's right. We've got the complete lyrics for Fire at Will, and we also have the description AIZN put on their AIZN Rawlers YouTube playlist, which is where this song is featured.
And that description, it really sets the scene, doesn't it? Gives us the context AIZN wants us to have.
It really does. What does it say again?
Okay, so it calls the playlist Punk Rock and Pure Chaos.
Okay, starting strong.
Yeah, and it says the music ranges from fast and furious to heavy and anthemic. And the whole point, apparently, is for you to headbang mosh or just embrace the chaos.
Okay, so subtlety is not the goal here. Embrace the chaos. I like it.
Not at all. It's a very clear signal about the energy. And there's something else important there, too, a warning.
Oh, yeah, the warning. That's crucial context, straight from AIZN.
Yeah, let me read it exactly. It says, warning, hasten. My lyrics can be edgy, absurd, and packed with profanity. If that's not your thing, no hard feelings, this channel might not be for you.
Right. So the artist is totally upfront. Edgy, absurd, profane. Got it.
No ambiguity there.
None. So our mission today, using only those lyrics and that description, is to unpack Fire at Will. We're looking at the words, the themes, the imagery, basically what the song seems to be conveying within the framework AIZN themselves provided.
Exactly. Just the text, just the artist's context. Let's get into it.
Okay, verse 1. Where does it start?
Right off the bat, it establishes this conflict. It addresses someone, or maybe something, on a throne.
A throne, okay. Symbol of power.
Yeah, but described as scared and old, with trembling hands. And the kicker, this figure is sending kids to die for your ancient plans.
Wow. Okay, so that's quite a contrast. You've got the power symbol, the throne, but then weakness and fear, scared, trembling.
And destructive action, sending kids to die for ancient plans, like outdated reasons.
It paints a pretty damning picture of leadership, doesn't it? Fearful, dangerous, acting on old motives, costing young lives. Why start there, do you think?
Well, it makes the critique feel personal, but also kind of timeless. You know, the throne is power, but carrying it with scared and old just immediately undermines it. From the song's perspective, anyway.
Yeah, sets up the core conflict.
Right. And then it adds trigger happy heart and a brain gone cold, impulsive, unfeeling power.
And the lyrics don't mince words. You're not a leader just scared and old. That's just direct.
Totally direct. No room for interpretation there. It strips away any pretense of legitimacy.
And it keeps going, linking this figure to lies and catastrophe.
Yeah, preaching control but smell like fear, dealing in suits and lies and a nuclear smear.
Nuclear smear. That phrase just hangs there, doesn't it? Instantly raises the stakes. Links those ancient plans to something potentially world-ending.
Absolutely. And then this idea of hoarding the future. Hoard the future behind barbed wire while wanting the world to expire just to keep your throne.
It's such a potent image, protecting yourself while letting everything else burn, just to stay in charge. What's the motivation there, according to the lyrics?
It seems to be pure self-preservation. Clinging to power, even if it means total destruction for everyone else. The barbed wire is like protection for the powerful few, the rest are expendable.
A zero-sum game where they only win if everyone else loses? Grim.
Very. It really paints the conflict source as this internal fear and power hunger within that figure on the throne.
Okay, so then we get the pre-chorus,
Yeah.
and the perspective shifts, right? We hear from the kids being sent out.
Exactly. And this is where the song directly contrasts the language of power with the lived reality. It says, you call it duty, we call it hell. You call it peace, but it's just a shell.
Oh, wow, yeah. Duty becomes hell. Peace is just an empty shell. That completely reframes it.
It's a total rejection of the official story. It says the reality on the ground is the exact opposite of how power presents it.
That feels like a really key moment, setting up the defiance that's coming.
Definitely. It lays the groundwork for the chorus, which is where that punk rock and pure chaos energy really ignites.
Let's hear it. What's the chorus say?
It's raw. Just a declaration of refusal. We don't want to die for your paranoid dreams. Your war machine runs on oil and screams.
So it dismisses the whole conflict as just the leader's paranoid dreams, not some noble cause.
Exactly. And links it to economics, oil, and human suffering. Screams. It's saying the cause is delusion and exploitation.
Oil and screams. That pairing is brutal, no glory there. And the blame is so specific.
Yeah. You point, we shoot, but the blood's on us while you sit safe jerking off your lust.
Whoa, okay. Yeah, AIZN did warn about profanity and absurdity. That line is crude, but powerful in its own way, right? What's it conveying in the context of this rage?
I think it's meant to shock, to highlight the hypocrisy and the detachment. The physical cost, the blood, is on the soldiers, while the one in charge is portrayed as safe, distant, and almost pleasuring themselves from the conflict.
Like deriving some perverse satisfaction from it.
That seems to be the implication. It's an extreme way to show contempt for that disconnect. Saying it's not about duty, it's about some kind of selfish indulgence from afar.
And the defiance just grows from there.
Oh yeah, so fuck your borders and fuck your flags.
Yeah.
We're not your pawns, we're body bags.
Total rejection of nationalism, the symbols of the state, seeing themselves as just casualties, expendable.
Exactly. The borders, the flags dismissed with profanity, they see themselves reduced to body bags. That really hits that punk vibe,
Yeah.
tearing down symbols.
Definitely. And then the end of the chorus.
We've had enough, we won't sit still. You want a war, then fire at will.
That feels like taking back control almost. Turning the command back on the authority. It's daring.
It is. It's like, okay, you started this, fine, let's go. But on their terms now, not as pawns.
Yeah, embracing the chaos, like the playlist said. If war is the game, the response will be just as unrestrained.
Potentially overwhelming the source. It really captures that fast and furious or heavy and anthemic energy as described. You can just imagine that being screamed.
Totally. Okay, so verse 2. Does the critique change focus?
It sharpens a bit, brings in more of a generational angle. Boomers in bunkers pressing their luck, clinging to power like rats in muck.
Okay, so explicitly naming an older generation this time. Boomers, and again, isolated in bunkers clinging to power with really negative imagery. Rats in muck.
Yeah, the bunkers link back to that barbed wire idea from verse 1. They're safe, removed.
And the contrast continues between their actions and the reality for others.
Absolutely. You start your wars with a silver pen while we bury our brothers again and again.
The silver pen, such a clean, detached image for starting wars.
Compared to the grim, repetitive reality of burying the dead, it's accusing the powerful of not bearing the cost.
And even symbols of honor are meaningless.
Completely. You wear your medals like holy proof, while we scream and rot on your fucking roof.
The medals are just empty compared to the reality of dying, scream, and rot, and on your fucking roof.
That's incredibly confrontational.
It puts the suffering right there, on their doorstep, but ignored. Makes the detachment seem even more grotesque from the song's viewpoint, pushing that edgy boundary AIZN mentioned.
Right. Okay, then another pre-chorus, more reframing of official terms.
Yep, same structure, different concept. You call it honor, we call it chains, marching us into your acid rains.
So honor is redefined as bondage, as chains.
Exactly. What's presented as noble is experienced as constraint, leading to destruction. Acid rains, whether literal or metaphorical.
The path they dictate isn't glory, it's devastation.
It just keeps hammering that theme. The language of power is a distortion of reality for those living it, taking the official word and showing its opposite lived experience.
And then the chorus repeats, driving home that refusal and defiance.
And then?
The bridge. The source note says this part is screamed. Yeah, this feels like the peak of that pure chaos energy. It shifts from refusal to active destruction.
How so?
Light the match, we'll burn your maps. No more suns for your collapse. It's not just we won't play, it's we'll destroy the game plan.
Burning the maps, destroying the strategy, the path laid out by the authority.
And stopping the supply of suns, the human cost. Then it gets even more direct. You want control. You want the throne. We'll tear your empire stone by stone.
That's full-on revolution talk, dismantling the entire structure, not reform, but tearing it down.
Right. It escalates from refusing to be pawns to destroying the whole setup, a total power reversal, lyrically.
And it connects back to the earlier bunker image.
It does. Build your bunkers. Choke on fear. This generation's end is near, but not the way you fucking planned. We'll drag you down with our own damn hands.
So the safe bunkers become traps where they choke on fear, and the end isn't this generation being wiped out?
No, it's this generation bringing the end to the old power, dragging them down. It completely flips the expected outcome.
That feels incredibly potent as a statement.
It really is. It takes their symbol of safety, the bunker, and turns it into a tomb built from their own fear. The end comes from below, not above.
Oh.
This is where that pure chaos feels like it's about dismantling the old order.
And the intensity carries right through the outro, which is marked as scream out.
All the way. Fire at will end, die in the blast. Your future's over. Your time has passed. It echoes the course command but turns it back. Firing at will leads to the authorities' own destruction. Their future is declared over.
We won't bleed for fossil kings. We'll rip apart your fucking strings. Fossil
Peace?
kings, another strong image. Ties back to scared and old boomers. Maybe resource dependency like the oil.
Yeah, outdated, obsolete power. And ripping strings, that's severing control, manipulation. Seeing the authority as a puppet master and destroying the streams.
And the final lines just double down on the rejection, using that blunt language AIZN warned about.
Coldly, your flags mean shit. Your wars are rot. You built this hell, and we'll burn this cuck.
Okay, yeah. That's about as direct and contemptuous as it gets. Dismissing the symbols, the actions, the leader themselves using that highly charged slur.
It attributes the hell directly to the authority and declares intent to destroy them. Zero punches pulled. Absolutely aligns with that edgy, absurd pact with profanity warning.
A complete, unfiltered rejection of any legitimacy.
Yeah.
And then it ends quietly, with a whisper.
Yeah, after all that screaming, the very end is noted as whispered, maybe distorted. No more gods, no more generals, no more graves for your paranoia.
That's a stark contrast. What's that suggesting?
It feels like a glimpse of what comes after destruction. An end to absolute authority to God, the generals, an end to the killing, no more graves. And it all ties back to the root cause identified in the song, the leader's paranoia.
So putting it all together, looking just at these lyrics and the AIZN Brawler's description, what's the core message here?
Well, it seems to be this incredibly raw, furious critique of a power structure perceived as corrupt, fearful, and destructive.
One that sacrifices the young for its own outdated, selfish reasons.
Exactly. And the song acts as this defiant roar from those supposedly being used. It rejects the official language, the symbols, everything.
Using those stark contrasts, duty hell, peace shell, honor chains.
Right, to show the gap between the narrative and the reality. And it builds to this call for basically the total destruction of that system and its leader.
Leading to this hoped-for state without those authorities or the paranoia driving it all, it really embodies that punk, rock, and pure chaos label AIZN gave it.
From beginning to end, yeah.
And just to be clear, our whole discussion here, this deep dive, it's been based only on the text AIZN provided. The lyrics, the playlist description, nothing else.
That's right. We haven't brought in any outside stuff or, speculated beyond what the artist put down in these sources.
Okay, so based purely on AIZN's words in Fire at Will and that context they gave, think about the sheer intensity of the language, the profanity, those stark contrasts we talked about. Duty versus hell, honor versus chains, building bunkers versus tearing down empires, fossil kings, ripping strings. What does using that kind of direct, unfiltered, often brutal lyrical approach tell you about the kind of message AIZN is trying to get across in this specific song? It definitely gives you something to chew on when you consider this source material for yourself.